Chapter 2. Trixie sipped her coffee as she read the newspaper. The headline was about the developments in the kidnapping scandal, and lambasted the entire night court for what happened. On the front cover was a picture of Dinky that had to be the cutest picture of her ever. No doubt to elicit sympathy and outrage, just as Trixie had planned. She smirked. She wanted to give the night court a message of what happened if you mess with the Galaxy Rangers. Trixie's body still ached from this morning's training. Her legs felt stiff and completely dead. For some reason, Raindrops insisted he run 6 miles every morning. It was pure misery. Trixie was starting to regret asking for all this training in the first place, but she knew she couldn't. She needed to get stronger. The Corvus incident a month ago proved it. They barely won that one through the skin of their teeth, and who knew what Corona was trying next? So far, Corona had been completely dead silent. Not a single monster had been seen since Corvus. Trixie suspected that Corona might be too weak to create a new one after getting her magic poison in her fight with Corvus. Due to the poison, thanks to Sakura, Corona was unable to replenish her vast but limited magic. But the piece just put Trixie more on edge. The tyrant sun was planning something. Trixie knew it to her bones. She couldn't slack on her training regardless of how peaceful it currently was. She was determined to be ready this time. Trixie drank the rest of her coffee and looked at the clock. She had 20 minutes until her meeting with Mayor Hyver Scrolls. Trixie used her magic to get her cape and hat and walked towards the door. Trixie's eyes widened when she saw the crowd of ponies at her front door. There were at least 20 reporters. They flashed their cameras at her momentarily before blinding her. After getting her visit back, she could see plenty of eager foals in the crowd. There were some adult ponies, too. And Trixie could see Rainbow Dash. She was their greatest fan and ran their fan club. She was grinning ear to ear and was wearing a Galaxy Rangers t-shirt with the Red Ranger on it. Wait a minute. Where did she get that? And why wasn't Trixie getting any royalties for it? It was something to look into earlier. Miss Lunamoon, do you believe that claims that Feisty Presence was behind the kidnapping yesterday? One reporter asked. He had his notebook ready and eager to take down anything Trixie had said. Miss Lunamoon, what do you think of the current state of the night court? Another said. Miss Lunamoon, what do you think Corona's next plans are? Said a third. The reporters bombarded Trixie with questions to the point that she could barely understand them. So let's see. That was a typical news reporter voice. Lois Lane. And Stephen Colbert. I'm going for it. I'm practicing. Trixie cleared her throat loudly. Ahem. The crowd cried. I don't have much time, but I will answer a few questions. As for who was behind the full napping of my friend's daughter, I will leave that to the princess's investigation. She is better suited to discovering the truth than me. The Night Court does have some issues. Issues I'm planning to fix when I become a member of it. I don't know what Corona's plans are, but we will deal with it when the time comes. Trixie knew Poissons was guilty of sin, but it was a bad idea to publicly denounce any Night Court noble, especially without proofs. The reporters rapidly asked more questions. Trixie raised a hope to quiet them. If you excuse me, I must be off. Trixie made herself invisible and slipped away. The reporters groaned in disappointment and went on their way. The foals eagerly chatted to each other. Rainbow Dash beamed enthusiastically. Now, you see, this is why sometimes it is a good idea for Rangers to have secret identities. Sometimes. Some teams, I think it's also good for them, even though they have public identities, to have a secret base. Which, now that I think about it, I have to ask, do the Deca Rangers or SPD ever have reporters stepping out when they make a catch? The last month had been hectic. Repeatedly, Trixie and her friends had been bombarded by reporters, especially in the first week. On the streets, Trixie regularly had ponies ask for her autograph or got swamped by fan ponies. When she first became the Night Court's representative for Ponyville, Trixie was largely ignored and basically had no influence. Now the mayor asked her to attend town meetings and give her input and suggestions. Trixie was asked all the time to attend some banquet or to do her act at a charity event. In fact, Trixie was going to do a magic act for a charity tonight. A pony by the name of Goodwill was diagnosed with early stages of cancer, and all proceeds were going towards its treatments. Trixie didn't mind doing charities, but this was all getting very tiring. Trixie liked the intention, but this was getting too much. She almost craved when ponies ignored her and called her a joke behind her back. Almost. She could really do without these meetings the mayor invited her to. They were almost always about boring stuff like zoning. But Tracy was representative, and having a positive reputation with Ponyville's town council would go a long way in her night court career. Besides, Tracy had the perfect spell to make it look like she wasn't sleeping during the meeting. Elsewhere, the music was so loud that Greengrass felt like he might go deaf. It made no sense to him and sounded mostly like just loud, incoherent noises. He did his best to have a neutral expression. The entire room was almost completely dark. Every pony around him was just a black figure in the flashing multicolored light. The rave was almost filled to the brim with young ponies. They had strangely random outfits. Greengrass wouldn't understand it, but maybe he was just too old. This wasn't really his world. Truthfully, he wasn't that old, but sometimes he felt like he grew up with a different era, with how things were so different today. Above them all was the pony he was looking for. And the DJ booth was Final Scratch, also known as DJ Pone 3. She was a white unicorn with an electric blue mane. She was wearing blue headphones, and her eyes were covered by purple glasses. She had a cigarette in her mouth. The puffs of smoke seemed to move and wave back and forth with the beat. She was in front of a console with a turntable on it. She was bobbing her head, completely enthralled with the music. Greengrass made his way back to the area with Notary falling behind. He knew where the backstage was. A bouncer recognized him and let him through. He led Greengrass to a back room that was a dressing room. It was really cluttered, mostly with booze bottles, and Notary collected approval once he saw the mess. It was the quietest room in the building, so he didn't mind. Besides, this was typical of the DJ. It didn't take long for Final Scratch to arrive. She limped towards them, beaming ear to ear. Her black prosthetic leg taped against the floor. The artificial limb resembled a normal one, but was identical and completely metallic, and covered almost all of her back right leg. Though she walked with a limp, she was able to walk around without difficulty for having for years. Wow. This is probably the second most damaged I've ever seen Vinyl. Still can't get over that one Halloween fanfic you saw once, can you? No, I cannot. Vinyl gave Greengrass a hug. Hey, how's it been? She greeted. Pretty good. I've been busy naturally, but it hasn't been anything I can't handle. Greengrass replied, smiling. Ahem. Notary cleared her throat, pointing towards the cigarette in Vinyl's mouth. Vinyl sighed. She rolled her eyes and put it out in a nearby ashtray that almost filled the brim with used cigarettes. Notary hated when Vinyl smoked around her boss. Greengrass chuckled. So, what do you think? Some pretty sick beats, huh? Vinyl asked. Me and myself. Vinyl was an accomplished songwriter. A DJ and her songs always seemed to make at least the top 20 on the charts. It really isn't my type of music, but I could see how it might appeal to some ponies. Greengrass answered. You are such an old fogey, Vinyl said. Greengrass laughed. So, what's up? Vinyl asked. I'm guessing you got a job for me? Greengrass nodded and came back to business. Indeed. I'm afraid this might require you to take a few weeks off. Okay, Vinyl said without hesitation as she usually did. She waved her hoof. I know just the pony that could cover for me. Vinyl smiled. He's a little untested, but he'll do great. It'll be a perfect opportunity for him. Splendid. Greengrass was glad this wasn't too much of a bother for her. Vinyl was quite adept at balancing her job with her work for him, as busy as she was. Though she seemed to put his work first most of the time, and never complained, no matter how much the job inconvenienced her. If he asked her to take a year off or something, she went in a heartbeat. That's why he valued her so much. So, Greens, what do you need me to do? Vinyl asked. I know you like this, Greengrass said, smirking. His plan had a surprise. She knew she would love. Meanwhile, after a particularly dull meeting with the mayor, Trixie started preparing herself for the magic show. She looked over old wires, mirror, and other gadgets she would use to perform her tricks. She hadn't performed a show since the longest night, and since this was charity, she planned on this one being her most fantastic yet. When everything was set up to her satisfaction, she left to meet her friends in front of the stage. All her friends were already there except for Carrot Top. Bon Bon wasn't with them because she was off making treats for the charity, and Dinky was conspicuously missing for some odd reason. I think it's fantastic you're doing this, Shirley said. Tootsie Flu's going through a hard time. I think he'll appreciate you doing this for her dad. I'm always here to help, Trixie said modestly. I'm always here to help the community. I bet you're going to get a huge turnout, being so popular and everything, Jesse said. I should hope so, Lyra smirked. We practically gave out flyers to everybody in town. At least we were putting this popularity to good use for once, Ranger said a bit pensively. Being famous didn't sit well with her. She always ended up scaring ponies away with her annoyed looks. Trixie bet she didn't know how scary she looked when angry. Tell me about it. Ditsy gave out a sigh. The press has been bothering me all day. I barely got my route done. Charlie put a hoof to her head. It should die down soon. Something will pop up and they'll forget we even existed. I just hope the Night Court learned its lesson and won't bother us again. Ditsy tapped her chin with a hoof. Don't count on it, Trixie said thoughtfully. They seem to think they deserve to control everything. I was afraid of that. Ditsy gave another sigh. Radar smacked her hose together. This thing will be ready for him. Hopefully, Shirley said. You really need to talk to the princess about this. I will, believe me, Trixie said. I plan to go to Canterlot to talk to her personally next week. That's a relief. Ditsy let out a breath. Ditsy gave out a camera alarm. Sorry, Dinky said out of breath. I'm not saying a thing. I'm hoping you miss anything. Tracy turns to Dinky, confused why her mother would make such a fuss. Tracy's eyes widened when she spotted the filly. Her jaw dropped. Everybody else in the group had the same expression. Dinky's mane was in a mohawk. Dinky, you're mean! Ditsy said, taking a step back. Complete shock. Isn't it cool? I just thought if I looked different, ponies would try to kidnap me or mess with me. What do you think? Dinky's face beamed with pride. There was stunned silence. It's interesting. Raindrops clearly had no idea what to say. Dinky, you gotta put your mane back to normal right now, Ditsy said in a commanding motherly tone. No, it's my mane, and I can stay however I want, Dinky protested. It's hard arguing with a high-pitched voice. Not when you live under my household, you won't, missy! Ditsy stopped back. The two started arguing. Trixie chuckled. There it was, a streak of rebellion. In a few years, Dinky would start slamming doors and say stuff like, "Get my back, Mom!" or "Give me Mom, you're not buzzing me!" Shirley also gave the amused expression. They grow up so fast. Lyra and Raindrops just watched the scene bewildered. Dinky eventually grudgingly left with her mom to fix her mane back to normal. Trixie spotted Carrot Top coming towards them and motioned for her to come closer. Her eyes widened when she saw the state the carrot farmer was in. Carrot Top looked stressed and haggard. Trixie ran to her friend in a hurry. What's wrong? Trixie asked. The rest of her friends joined her. Carrot Top waved a hoof. Not much. The irrigation system was causing me problems. What do you mean? Lyra asked. It won't distribute water properly. I'm going to have to get a better look at it tomorrow. Make things so much more difficult. I just want to relax, watch some music tricks, and get to sleep, Carrot Top explained. That's a bummer, Lyra said emphatically. If you need any help, be sure to ask. Thanks, Carrot Top said appreciatively. Trixie knew the system was old, left over from when Carrot Top's grandparents owned the farm. Carrot Top probably needed a new irrigation system. It would be expensive. Very expensive. Not something a small farm like hers could afford easily. Trixie made a mental note to look for a way to finance it later. Later, Trixie watched the crowd behind the screen. It was going to a rather large one. All the seats were already full of ponies and were forced to watch the show from the sky or standing up. It was a larger crowd than Trixie was expecting, but she didn't mind. Her friend would actually come in use this time. It was a beautiful night for the show with a full moon lighting the sky. Trixie saw Ditsy return and sat in a reserved VIP spot in front of Dinky, was not with her. Bonbon was on the sidelines and stand selling her treats to the attendees, but at least she was making a killing. Huh, where's Dinky? Lyra asked. He's stranded, Ditsy said matter-of-factly. Isn't that a little extreme? Lyra said shocked. She was really looking forward to this. It's called a punishment for a reason, Lyra, Shirley said. Ditsy nodded. She said no bear didn't talk back like that. Bummer, Lyra said dejectedly. Ditsy was disappointed that Dinky couldn't come. She would just have to give her an encore later. Well, all except her last trick, of course. Mayor Ivory Scrolls walked down to the front of the stage. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so proud that so many ponies came to help Goodwill and his family during this difficult time. The family in question gave a wave, showing the unity and commitment of the community of Ponyville and our ability to overcome any obstacle. We're a bit thick, aren't we? Trixie muttered under her breath. It was almost election time, and the mayor was trying to look as good as possible. And now, the star of the show and the bunny that made all this possible, Trixie Lunamoon! The mayor concluded. Suddenly the stage was covered in smoke and scaring it completely. The mayor took her leave under the cover of smoke, and the smoke cleared and Trixie replaced her. Are you ready for the most fantastical and unbelievable illusions and magic of the great and powerful Trixie? Fireworks erupted around Trixie as he kicked her front legs in the air. The crowd cheered. Not if I have anything to say about it, a booming voice said. A figure stepped on stage. It was a black Pegasus dressed in a dark gray costume with a red stripe through it. It is I, your arch nemesis, Master Impossible. Trixie faced off. Not you again. You thought you beat me, banished me? Never! I will not stop until I defeat you once and for all! Master Impossible boomed. Go away, Thundering! I am in the middle of a show. Trixie's eye twitched. Ever since her secret identity got revealed, this Joker kept challenging her, convinced that they were arch nemesis. He never knew when to quit, and Trixie had to put up with him. This time, Master Impossible will be victorious, especially with my secret weapon. Dr. Lane got out some nunchucks from his belt and started swinging them around awkwardly. Trixie started rubbing her head. She pondered what was the best solution to deal with this dolt. Hi-ya! A voice came from the sky. Suddenly, a rainbow blur fell from the sky, drop-kicked Dr. Lane in the face. Dr. Lane dropped to the ground with a thud. Rainbow Dash grinned in satisfaction and gave Trixie a salute. She roughly grabbed the arch villain from the ground and flew away from the stage. Mark my words, I will have my revenge! Dr. Lane weakly cried out as he was crawling away. Anyway, Trixie said with a sigh. When they were out of sight, the great and powerful Trixie will show you magic you've never seen by pony eyes! Trixie spun her hoof around and she suddenly had a hoop in her hooves. She spun it around her hoof, then around her body, and with practiced grace and confidence. She threw it to her right hoof and dropped it down to her leg, as if she cloned it. Now she had two hoops. She threw them in the air and started juggling them. First she only had two, but as she was juggling them, they somehow multiplied. Now she was juggling 4 hoops in the air. When they were all in the air, she spun around and grabbed them all at the same time. When she faced the crowd, the hoops were gone. The crowd applauded and stomped their hooves. Trixie flung off her hat, and with the thrust of her head, grabbed it in midair with a hoof. She reached inside it and pulled out a sword. It glistened in stage lights. She planted it on the ground, put her hoof back into her hat, and pulled out a tomato. She threw it in the air in single motion, grabbed the sword from the ground, and cut the tomato in half. She twirled the sword around. As you can see, this sword is very sharp. For my next trick, the great and powerful Trixie will need a volunteer. Hooves rose up in the air. Trixie examined their ponies raising their hooves carefully. Trixie pointed towards a colt in the second row. You? Me, ma'am? The colt said nervously. The colt was an herb pony with a brown mane and white coat. He had splotches of brown all over his coat. Oh, Pip! Come on to the stage. Don't be shy, Trixie said soothingly. The colt nodded and trotted towards the stage. Let me see your name. Pipsqueak, Mom, the colt answered. Hello, Pipsqueak. Trixie agreed with a smile. She planted the sword on the ground again. This colt will assist the great and powerful Trixie in a very dangerous and daring trick. Pipsqueak called. Oh, you're not going to use that thing on me, are you? Trixie was surprised. What? No, never. The great and powerful Trixie would never endanger an audience member. Pipsqueak was certainly relieved. No! Trixie boomed. She grabbed the sword with a hoof again, twirled it around. It will be used on the great and powerful Trixie! Pipsqueak's jaw dropped and the audience gasped. Trixie used her magic to pull out a box from the backstage. It's big enough to fit an adult pony. It had 2 doors. A smaller door on the top for the head, and a bottom one for the body. It also had a hole in the middle of an X that was placed at the heart. The great and powerful Trixie will go into that box, and my sister Pipsqueak will stab me in that hole right in the middle. Trixie flourished her cape, so he spun the box over magic just so it had no way out except the front. Pipsqueak gulped. Are you sure about this, Miss Trixie? Trixie beamed. Positive. The great and powerful Trixie would never attempt anything she knew that Trixie couldn't do. Trixie used her magic to turn the box 45 degrees, so she could sort of completely go through the box. She opened the latch to the front and inside. The box was completely empty. She snugged her way inside, just barely fitting in. It didn't give her much wiggle room. She closed the door and left the door for her head to open. As you can see, there is no way for the great and powerful Trixie to use her magic without all you seeing it, Trixie said. It's Trixie's assistant already. Pipsqueak gave a hesitant nod and approached the box. He picked up the sword with his hooves. The sword soaked nervously in his hooves. He closed his eyes and thrust it all the way into the hole with abandon. Gah! Trixie screamed. Pipsqueak and the audience gasped. Trixie's eyes were closed and her tongue hung out. The sword went completely through the box. Miss Trixie! Pipsqueak cried out. Slowly Trixie's eyes opened and she grinned. She used her magic to pull out the sword and open the box. She was completely unharmed. Pipsqueak and the audience clapped in amazement. That was amazing! Pipsqueak cheered. You haven't seen anything yet. Trixie took the sword in her hose, twirled it around. Suddenly it was a chocolate bar. This is for you, for being so brave! Pipsqueak's eyes widened and he took the candy. Thanks, Miss Trixie. Trixie smiled and ushered him back to his seat. The great and powerful Trixie's next trick will have her teleport for this box. Trixie gestured to the box she was used earlier. And this one. Trixie pulled out another box from backstage. It looked exactly like the last one. But it won't just be a simple teleportation spell, Trixie said, grinning. The great and powerful Trixie will teleport while levitating in midair. Murmurs came from the crowd. Trixie got into the box again, only closing the bottom door like before. She used her magic to lift herself in the box high in the air. She was physically struggling for difficulty doing this. Self-levitation was an easy trick to do. She hung midair for a few moments before dropping her levitation and used it to close the top door instead. Not suspended in the air anymore, the box quickly fell to the ground and broke into millions of wooden shards. The audience gasped. Trixie was nowhere to be seen. The door of the second box burst open to reveal Trixie. The crowd erupted in tears and applause. Trixie gave a gracious brow. The great and powerful Trixie's next trick will require another volunteer. After 20 minutes, Trixie's show came to a close. She dazzled her audience with confusing tricks and illusions. One of her most impressive tricks of the show was cutting a card in midair that was chosen by an audience member while blindfolded with a sword. She then used that sword to fight her Sal that came to life to fight her. She vanquished it after her heart-pounding duel. Unfortunately, the show had come to an end, but Trixie saved her best trick for last. And for now, the great and powerful Trixie's the last trick. One so dangerous and daring, she might not even come out of it in one piece. Trixie trotted out the stage, and the audience watched with their eyes curiously. She trotted up to something covered in a tart, which was a few rows away from the stage. And behold! Trixie pulled out the tart to reveal Ken. In this trick, Trixie will escape from being shot from this cannon into that brick wall over there. Trixie pointed to a brick wall in the distance. But alone would this be dull? Trixie will make this even more dangerous and daring. When Trixie hits the wall, it is set to explode with TNT. The audience gasped in amazement and shock. Once quitting, they could see red boxes of TNT lining the bottom of the wall. Trixie, is this such a good idea? Dizzy said with full of apprehension. Yeah, this is nuts, Lyra said alarmed. Lyra nodded. Charlie just watched to see that Trixie would do. Positive. And to make the escape even more difficult, Trixie will be in a straitjacket, chained when she's shot down this cannon. Trixie beamed with confidence. Please tell me she's kidding, Lyra said. Trixie will like to take the Ponyville Fire Department and hospital for overseeing the trick and making this as safe as possible. Trixie pointed to some fire ponies, and Dr. Stable that were watching from the sidelines. Trixie could see some fire pony pigs in the air, making sure every pony stayed away from the blast zone. Trixie gave her hat and cap to Lyra and got into the straitjacket, with a fire pony helping her with chains. She climbed to Lyra in the back of the can. She gave a reassuring smile to her friends and audience that was watched on nervously. She's crazy. She's going to get herself killed, Lara looked like she was about to faint.
I'm sure she has it under control. It's just a trick, right?
Dizzy said hesitantly. Please be okay, please be okay. Trixie loaded herself into the cannon, and with some more help from a fire pony. A few moments later, the cannon was fired, and a blue-white sheep was shot from the cannon. The crowd winced at the painfully loud sound of the cannon being fired. Trixie could just barely be seen racing towards the wall. In a blink of an eye, she hit the wall, and there was an explosion. There was an eruption of dust, and the crowd coughed. The smoke started to clear, and the audience looked on and could not see anything. They could see the smoky remains of the brick walls when the smoke cleared. The crowd gasped in unison. There was no sign of Trixie anywhere. They started murmuring to each other in fear and alarm.
No need to fear! The great and powerful Trixie is just fine!
Okay, so that was a beautiful act by Trixie. We're going to look over to see Penn and Teller. Yes, they are busy taking down their notes. Trixie, do you think you actually fooled them?
Please. Trixie's just doing this for the warm-up. She would be absolutely positively shocked if she did fool them. She was just wanting to see if they were up to stuff for this.
Okay. Teller seems to be talking to Penn, and... Alright, Penn, Teller, what do you think?
You know, I've got to give Trixie credit. Not everybody can do multiple escape attempts and tricks like that and expect to come out unharmed. But what can I say? You did good, Trix, but we taught you that. You didn't fool us one bit.
Oh, well, that was all good. Well, good. Let's see you next time when we see who else will come out to on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. The crowd turned around, and there was she on the stage in one piece. She was still wearing the straitjacket, but her legs were free and unencumbered. The audience erupted cheers and whinnies. They seemed to stop their hoses as one. Trixie could feel the ground shake a little. She bowed several times, thanked the love and affection the crowd was giving her. Trixie felt amazing right now, like she was on top of the world. So, enjoying this chapter?
This has got to be the greatest chapter we have ever done!
I hope you're happy.
Trixie is so happy right now!
Suddenly, Trixie felt something fall and cover the top of her head. Curious, she used her magic to examine it and dropped in a wide-eyed shock.
Panties.
Somebody just threw their pink panties on Trixie's head. Trixie screamed at the top of her lungs and ran off the stage in complete and utter horror. The entire crowd was stunned silent.
Trixie takes back everything she just said about this chapter!
I don't know, Trixie. I got ask some magic. You got the awesome applause. And I got to see you embarrassed.
Trixie loves you.
And I love you, Trix. I love you too. That was not the reaction I was expecting. Cloud Kicker said over the confused silence. Boo! Do 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 do.